Hello, and welcome to a live pop culture on Deprogrammed with Keri Smith and Mystery Chris. Hello, Mr. Chris. How are you?
Well, hello, Keri. How are you?
You know how I am. I'll just tell the audience.
I'm just gonna pretend.
Hold on, let me switch this microphone. Oh, it's better. There you go. Yeah, my husband and I. Oh, he's in the chat. Anthony Garcia Music. He says we just insulated our attic today. Still not done. We're both exhausted. I was spraying like crazy up there. That sounds dirty because it is. I was spraying like a crazy person. It was dirty. It was filthy.
Well, you
And
you sent me a picture of you with the ventilator mask or ventilation mask, whatever it's called, and a bunch of stuff on to as you're crawling through the attic. And told you look kind of like Antifa. I was like, don't you have a courthouse to go try to set on fire?
yeah, I do. You're right. You had the best comment to that. I do look kind of like Antifa in that picture. You know what? That picture was before it got really bad. That was
Ay, ay,
like
ay.
because here's what happened. Now, if you have an old home that hasn't been insulated and you want to do it yourself, you should still do it yourself. I think it's worth it. We saved a lot of money. We're not finished, and we briefly, like after this show, we were talking about okay, you're going to take a break and do the show, and then go put all the gear back on and get back up there until like 3 or 4 in the morning because we rented the machine from Home Depot. It has to be back by 9 a.m. All this stuff. Now I think what we're gonna do is wake up at 4 or 5. We'll do that instead.
Ay,
And
ay,
then
ay.
I know, but still, I think you should do it. It's worth it. But I never want to do it again. Like just for my house, and that's it. I never want to. God bless the people who do this for a living. We are up there at a particularly hot month. We did our attic was full. Nobody's lived in this house for 30 or 40 years, and it was built in 1914, and there was like a ton of garbage up there. So we had spent several days in the past couple of months up there just filling up contractor bag after contractor bag full of garbage, and it's crawling on your belly with all this protective gear on and like putting stuff in bags. And this morning we had to finish that. There was still some of that left. So we had to do that, go back and forth to Home Depot twice because we didn't bring our vehicle wasn't big enough for all of the pallets of the insulation. We did not use the fiberglass. Somebody in the chat's the fiberglass. We used cellulose. We use this like green kind of recycled stuff, and you basically get this heavy machine, and you have like 100 of these big bricks of the insulation material, and you have like 100 feet of hose, and you run it up there. And then he was the sprayer. He was up there in the hot attic spraying, and I was on the balcony with the machine. And you have like 100 of these bricks, and you have to just like take a knife, cut them all around, karate chop, break it into the thing, and you have to break it all up so that it feeds into the hose. And it was this for like hours. Hours.
That's just tiring me out. You're just saying that.
Carrying all these bags up the stairs. I'm sorry. I'm whining. I'm complaining. It was look, I'm tired. All this to say, I'm letting you entertain me tonight, Mystery Chris.
Oh,
Audience, what people are hanging out with us. I see you guys. I see Therese, Cheeky Mare, Pirate Tomsky, Adam. Hey guys, Derp. What do you think about Mystery Chris? Just we have a fun night, and Mystery Chris shows us some of his favorite movies and TV shows, and we talk with you guys and have just a relaxing night. How's that sound?
yeah. I'll try not to say anything racist this episode.
Somebody did leave a comment saying they tune in on Wednesday nights specifically for your racism.
Yeah, it's progress, baby.
Oh, okay. Let's get started. What are we doing? Well, I should say, if you like Deprogrammed, you can support us we have a locals, we have a Patreon, a Subscribe Star, and here at YouTube memberships. And you can also hit like, that helps the algorithm, or you can leave a comment. And what else? I had one other announcement. Oh, there's a fun June surprise for all the knitters in the chat. all the knitters. Blocked Magazine. If you don't know Blocked Magazine, they are an excellent knitting and crochet magazine that also deals with some of the the crazy ideological purity mobs that have formed in the fiber community in the past few years. It's edited by Neil James, who's been on Deprogrammed several times. Anyway, Blocked Magazine has a special feature coming out in June, and I was sent several beautiful knitted handmade items for this feature, and you should go subscribe to Blocked Magazine to see what that is. And there were many knitters from our chat who participated, or people that we know, friends of the show, people whose shows I've been on occasionally. And anyway, I don't know how much I can say about it, but it's exciting, and I can't wait till I can tell you more about it. But go subscribe to Blocked Magazine. That's the point. Oh, thank you, GJJ, for the $20 super chat. GJJ, thank you. Says I did that installation before, but I was 20 and not the 50 I am now. Pay someone to do it. It's too late. It's too late to pay someone. We have the machine. We've already done half the attic. We're gonna finish it. Maybe we should pay
You
someone.
were at Home Depot. You could have just like say, "Hey, you want to get in the back of the truck, guy?" See.
No, because there was a Mexican guy there who worked for Home Depot, and he was actually very overweight and very lazy.
What?
Well, Anthony almost hurt himself getting the machine in the van because that guy was supposed to help, and he was supposed to help us load all the pallets, like, and he was like, "Oh," and I can't. Anthony's in the other room, but he said it's Spanish. He said, "What was it? Si pesa mucho." Something. It was like, "Oh, it's very heavy." And we drove away like that guy was totally useless.
You need to leave a bad Yelp review.
Right. Like, why are you gonna get a job at Home Depot if you're really severely overweight and lazy? Like, not a you need to be in shape because people need you to help them lift things into the vehicles. Anyway, yeah. Okay. Definitely not like the stereotypes, says Pirate
Nope.
Domsky. No, this dude was he was his own individually, just not very helpful. Okay. Now we're gonna start. Let's go. Let's do this.
All
What should
right.
we start with?
I was about to ask you. Well, what's been on your mind, pop culture wise? Like, have you been paying attention to any news? Have you been watching any new shows? Like,
Oh my goodness, you're supposed to entertain me tonight. No, I'm kidding. Well, actually, the show we have been watching is, so there was this murder. I've mentioned it before. I like true crime. There was this murder that happened in like 1980 in Wiley, Texas. It was Candy Montgomery. This woman had an affair with her friend
oh,
Betty Gore's husband, who she knew from church.
this is the one with Jessica Biel in it, right?
Well, yes, there's 2 series out. Jessica Biel was the
Oh,
first one. I
okay.
already watched that one. 2 different platforms decided to do it at the same time. So last year, the Hulu version came out with Jessica Biel and Justin Timberlake. I was shocked. He was actually really good as the sheriff. Anyway, Candy Montgomery, this woman, she had an affair with her friend Betty Gore's husband, and then she murdered Betty Gore with an axe, hit her over 40 times, 40 blows with this axe, like just gruesome, and tried to cover it up, pretend like nothing happened, and eventually went on trial. And I guess I shouldn't tell you. Cheeky Mare. It's
Spoiler or
spoilers.
something?
Spoilers. It's true crime. It's been out. Anybody can look up the verdict. I won't tell you the verdict, but man, okay, it's worth watching 2 different versions of the series. So they both did this, and we saw the Hulu version. It was great. It was called Candy, but now HBO has their version finally came out, and
What?
it's David Kelly. Is that his name? The guy that did Big Little Lies. He produced it, and it's called Love and Death. and the actress they chose, the casting was really different. They chose a younger actress, the little sister of the Olsen twins. Um, I forget her
Elizabeth
name.
Olsen?
Yes, Elizabeth
Yeah.
Olsen, and it's actually it's really well done. It's very different in style. It's very stylistic, but I mean, captivating. If you like true crime, you should watch this series. And I can't believe this woman and the trial. I can't believe it. I kind of want to tell you what happened so I can tell you more. But yeah, so we've been watching that,
But this
and
was a long, like, it took place in the 80s, right?
it was in 1980. And that's what happens in Hollywood. So somebody starts shopping a project, other people hear about it. Maybe they can't get the producer, a producer wants to be attached and can't get attached or what have you. They decide, I'm going to do my own version of that, especially it's a true crime story. I don't have to write, I'm not stealing. So two different networks came out with their version, their you know, dramatic miniseries about it. And
Yeah, we've seen that in recent memory with a lot of movies like Bugs Life, and I think it was the Ants that came out around the same time.
mhm.
The movie, was it called Volcano, and Dante's Peak came out at the same time. There was, I think, Twister and another. I can't remember the other one was, but there was another one
Oh,
that came out at the same time.
yes.
It's Twister. It's like, why does Hollywood keep doing this? Like, I understand them like wanting to rip people off, but at one point you gotta say, okay, these people are going to beat us. I mean, it's going to hurt us coming up with a very similar movie right after one just came out. I mean, it's just
That's what they do. And by the way, that applies to woke. That's why we see all this woke crap, because that's been the trend now for a few years. And I think it's on the way out, but unfortunately, because of the lead time that you need to get things on the air, we're still seeing a lot of woke shows that the concept, everything was pitched and sold like 2 years ago.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, they just do trends. It's like when Anthony Bourdain, this is the example I usually give because it's a great example, and everybody is pretty familiar with that show, even if they didn't watch it. When Anthony Bourdain show came out, it was a huge success, and then every network was like, "We got to get a travel show like that, a docu series like that," and everyone was buying that, the same thing. So, but yeah, somebody asked Amy, asked in chat, what's the HBO show name? It's Love and Death, and the music in it is great too. Therese says go watch The Keepers. Yeah, The Keepers is great. If you guys haven't seen that, true crime.
Hmm.
And then one other quick thing that we've watched. Somebody in the Deprogrammed audience, I think, maybe it was somewhere else, told me I needed to rewatch the Alien movie with Christopher Walken. It's called Communion, and it's from 1980, around the same time as that murder happened. Um, it's an older movie, and I had seen it when I was a kid, probably when I was too young to see that. And we just rewatched it. It is weird. It's weird. If you were into abduction stories, though, or interested in that now, go see it. But I'll just tell you, it's bizarre. And the best part about it, though, is I feel like Christopher Walken is the most Christopher Walken I've ever seen him. Like, I always think the director just said, okay, I want you to be Christopher Walken in this scene.
So did he play the alien? He doesn't
No,
need makeup. He said,
so
"I'm an alien."
it's based on a supposedly true story. It's based on a book this guy wrote, and he plays the author. An author, this happened to an author, so who was supposedly abducted. And I looked that guy up, and that guy is still around. I didn't know his background. He was a fiction author before he wrote Communion, and he wrote Wolfen. He wrote The Hunger, which ended up being adapted into a film. A lot of people who are into horror saw that in the 80s. That was with David Bowie and Catherine Deneuve. It's a vampire movie, a vampire book. So had already had success as an author, who had some film adaptations. And then he came out with this book, Communion, and said, "This is nonfiction. This happened to me." And since then, he's done like 3 nonfiction follow-ups to Communion about his continued interaction with these beings. And he has a podcast and he talks about
Ooh.
extraterrestrial stuff and crop circles and things. And I kind of want to talk to this guy now. Like,
I love the coast to coast type, like aliens and ghosts and conspiracy stuff.
oh, so his show, you probably heard him because his show used to be on
Probably.
Coast to Coast. It
Yeah.
used to be part of Coast to Coast.
Yeah,
And now
probably
it's on
have.
his, on his own
A,
website.
a friend of mine showed me a video of some guy. I'd seen him before, but this guy claimed to time travel with Barack Obama, and he
What?
also claimed to have gone to Mars.
What?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, this guy is so good at making up the stories that there's so many people that think he's like telling the truth, which is hilarious. You just
And he's
gotta listen
not?
to this guy. I mean, maybe he is.
Well,
There-
you gotta, who is this person?
let's see, what is his name? I was listening to I'll find it in just a second. But it reminded me of I think it was a College Humor video where it was about this guy who was reminiscing about the 90s. He's like, oh, I miss the 90s. Wish I could go back in time. And then like this guy from the 90s comes and goes, all right, we're ready to go back in time to the 90s. He's like, yeah. So they go back to the 90s. It's like, all right, you can play Nintendo 64 and get on AOL. And he's like, great, awesome. He's like, but 9/11's 5 years away, which means you have a moral obligation to stop it. And so he has to like go to the airport carrying like weapons in order to get arrested to like make sure the system is ready for the terrorists before 9/11. It's true though. I mean, if you had a time machine, like, would you not feel guilty? Like, I gotta do something. I gotta like stop, Adolf from World War II.
I don't know because I don't think you could.
You just don't have
I don't
enough
think you
faith and
could.
belief in yourself, Keri.
I don't think you can change what happens.
Mm.
Someone in the chat knows the name of the guy I was talking about. Thank you for that. I couldn't remember his name. Cale Burke, thank you, says my dad, RIP dad, was really into Whitley Strieber. That's his name. That's the author who wrote The Hunger and then ended up writing Communion, and it became this movie with Christopher Walken. Okay. What about you? What are you watching? Since you asked me?
I'm watching Silo on Apple Plus. So Silo is based on a book which I've never read, but it's about a group of people who are in essentially a building that's underground, like a skyscraper type structure, and they're not allowed to go outside because outside is radioactive or something. But of course, there's something going on outside that they don't know, and so it's a bit of a mystery. And so far, it's pretty good because it's a bit of a science fiction type story.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah, even though, like I said, I was done with dystopian stuff. I still watching it because I'm just tired of this. There's so many of them, so that's going all right. I think that's the only new show I'm pirate. I want to hear Pirates right.
Pirates
That's
says
the show. I guess he hates it. I want to hear what Pirates to say.
For anybody who's just listening, Pirate Tomsky, our British mod, in the chat says I must not go off about Silo. I guess he doesn't like it.
But yeah, so there's that. The only new one I know next month. Next month. Foundation comes back, another science fiction thing. Righteous Gemstone comes back. Strange New Worlds, which I'll try. But yeah, there's some new stuff. But I'm really excited for a movie coming out in the fall, and I haven't heard a lot of people in our sphere talk about it. I mean, maybe they have. I just haven't seen their videos. But it's a movie called The Creator, which is a science fiction film by Gareth Edwards, who directed Rogue One and Godzilla. And it's like Terminator meets the Golden Child, basically, where it's like this future where humanity's battling AI robots, and there's some key to defeating them, which happens to be like a child who's a robot. And so I guess the main character, played by, I think it's Denzel Washington's son, decides to switch sides and protect the kid. And so
Mm.
it's a little derivative of a lot of stuff we've seen in the past, but it's still like it's done so well visually, and it just looks like something that, I think a lot of us have been wanting to see more of. I desperately want to see more original science fiction stuff. I'm kind of tired of the old franchises that they continue to just make bad shows and movies about. Like, we
Yeah.
need new ideas, and I know this, you can only do so much when it comes to new stuff, but this, I'm pretty hopeful that this is going to be a good movie. So it's probably like this and Dune are probably like my two most look forward to movies for this year. So
And what's the name of this one again?
The Creator.
The Creator. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty. If anyone hasn't seen the trailer, I recommend go watch that. It's
I
awesome.
haven't seen it. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
I have a
but
question for you from the chat.
yes,
Ryan Harger, thank you, says, any interest in the new librarian show, Mystery Chris?
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, me either. We're being educated.
Yeah, I would like to know more.
Two sisters and some yarn. Give it up for Armand. Amy in the chat says, I'm rewatching The Golden Girls for the 896th time. Yeah. You do that. I've got to.
Did you show the picture behind you to the audience?
Oh, I should mention this again. Thank you. This is our friend, you know her too, Julia,
Yes.
right? Our friend Julia, Julie Mann, she does a she's an artist who does primarily colored pencil, and this is the Golden Girls, the original Golden Girls that she made me, but you can buy the print on her website. Just look up Julia Mann art, or art by Julia Mann on Instagram. Yeah, I thought it was really well done. She does a lot of nostalgic kind of art, and their prices are really good. So
yeah, she has some Star Trek, Star Wars stuff, and so
yeah, she has a lot of Star Wars stuff now. She just sold at Red Poppy Fest in Georgetown, and she has a lot of new things that I went to help her one day, and it was really cool. Oh, speaking of, so that series I mentioned that I'm watching, you might find this interesting too. So the HBO version of that true crime story, it's called Love and Death, about the axe murder that happened in Wiley, Texas in 1980. The HBO version was partially filmed in Georgetown, here in Georgetown, Texas.
Oh.
So the courthouse is featured and everything.
Is this becoming a trend? Because I think Fear of the Walking Dead was filmed a little bit in Georgetown. I think it was at the baseball.
There are a lot of productions that are now filming in Texas. I don't know how many are being filmed in Georgetown, but do you know my embarrassing story about when production was happening a year and a half or so ago?
I think, but tell us, enlighten us.
Anthony was laughing at me. Anyway, he wasn't there that day. I parked. I didn't know what was happening, and I was just trying to go to my favorite coffee shop. I needed a coffee. I was on my way out of town, and I parked on the square, and I kind of noticed, my subconscious noticed, there were a lot of old cars, like 1970s cars and stuff, and police cars. But they always have, once a month there, they have the old car show. All the whole square's lined with old cars. So I didn't think much of it. And I got out of my truck, and there's like a news thing happening right in front of the courthouse with lots of cameras and stuff. And I was thinking, oh man, I bet it's BLM or somebody's up to no good. And then I realized they're all dressed like the 70s. I'm like, oh, and there's cameras. Oh, they're filming something here. They're filming something. So I turned around to get back in my truck, and this guy comes over, this busybody, and he's like, you can't park here. I was like, I know, dude, I'm getting back in the truck. He's like, you got to move. I was like, I know. And then I was like, I drove around and tried to park elsewhere, couldn't, ended up walking a long way to get to the coffee shop on the square, only to find that it was closed because of all the hoobada whatever, the hullabaloo that was happening.
Fake hippies.
Yeah, and so I couldn't get my coffee, and they were all filming, and I just yelled out, "Go back to California, all of you!"
And then they did. Your car's not welcome around here.
I came back and told Anthony, I don't even know if we were married yet. That was probably 2 years ago now when they were shooting this. Anyway, he was like, "Not." He was like, "I'm so glad I wasn't there." I was like, "Come on, I just said."
I thought you were gonna say that's when he knew he had to keep her.
I'm trying to get my
don't,
coffee.
don't get in between Keri and her coffee. You want to get cut.
Don't get between me and my car. Yeah. Yeah. So no, I wasn't in the movie. Fires on with Carrie tried to be in the movie. LOL. No, but when we were watching those courthouse scenes where they show the courthouse, I'm like, "Oh, somewhere in the back there is me trying to get into the coffee shop. Like, why don't you all go back to your state? Okay, that's it. That's enough. Okay, so you sent me some stuff, some fun stuff. What should I start with?
Let's start with article. I got a couple articles. Pull up the first one. The first one's I just thought this was weird. I think it's the first link I sent you.
Okay. This one? Geek Tyrant?
Yep.
Will Smith
Guess
stars.
who's back?
Will Smith is back. This doesn't look like him. This looks like an AI version of him, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's CGI. It's a computer thing. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just weird that Will Smith. One, it's weird that Will Smith's in a video game. Two, that they came out with this game, which I assume they were working on it well before the slap incident had. But now everyone's just going to make jokes about wanting a slap level, which I think they should have just put in there. You might as well at that point just have a level where Chris Rock is like trying to avoid getting slapped by Will Smith. That'd be fun.
I don't think either of those guys would consent to have their image used in that way, but it would be funny. So this is a video game. Let me just read the headline for anyone who's just listening. Will Smith stars in the trailer for the action survival video game Undawn. Okay, so that's why he looks like a video game guy.
And apparently this is going to be like free. So I guess that helps, but I'm really curious as how many people are going to actually play this game. Maybe people will be so interested because of the slap that they just want to play it once or see what it's all about.
Well, it is a post-apocalyptic, and as you said, that's a theme that just keeps going. That Hollywood's not tired of that yet. Honestly, I'm not tired of it yet either. I love post-apocalyptic stories.
Well, I hated it because like when the COVID stuff started, I was like, kind of don't want to watch like post-apocalyptic stuff, especially like I think it was Contagion that was trending on Netflix, and I was like, why do people want to watch this? Like, this is before we knew that, or it wasn't, but at the time I was like, it's just could be living this pretty soon. So I was like,
nah. That's why I wanted to see it. I was like, give me every one of those shows and movies. Like, what are we in for? Let's watch the old Outbreak.
Do you have like a zombie contingency plan? Like, you must.
Of course. I mean, that. So here, I'll stop sharing this Will Smith thing. I most of the video games I play, most of the video games I own for my old Xbox 360, almost all the comic books I have, they're all zombie related. Like a lot of the horror, the fiction that I own is zombie related. I mean, I don't know why, but for me, this, we did an episode on it once. That's a genre, a subgenre that's just specifically interested me for forever. And I think a part of it has to do with I don't know, there's something in a zombie story that's so the moment in a zombie story where the person realizes that the world has changed and that everything's different and their reality is gone. There's a new reality. That's the most interesting part of a zombie movie or book or comic book or game or anything. The games are fun just to play. Like Dead Island 1 and 2. I love Dead Island. Oh gosh, what was the one in the mall? There were like 2 or 3 of them where he's on the motorcycle, and somebody in the chat knows this. Yeah, Left 4 Dead. I love Left 4 Dead, Cheeky Mare. Although Left 4 Dead, it's not as much story as I like. That's more of just like a shoot 'em up game. I prefer the one in the mall. Um,
I think zombie genre is one, if that the most versatile genre,
mhm,
because you think about it, like there's so many different flavors of zombie movies.
mhm.
And you can think of great ones for each type, like serious ones, there's funny ones with political commentary. It's like anything you can think of, good or bad. There's tons of zombie movies that are entertaining. They're really good. And I
Yes.
can't think of too many other genres which has that many, types of good movies that range the different
Yeah,
styles.
there's a lot of comedy zombie stuff, Return of the Living Dead, Shaun of the Dead. There's a lot that has a sense of humor. Even, gosh, what was the one that was really big that came out a few years ago now with Woody Harrelson?
Oh, Zombieland.
Zombieland. That was
I like
great.
Zombieland, both of them. I like part two too.
Yeah. The game I was thinking of is Dead Rising. Dead Rising is great. Um, and like I said, Dead Island. Kevin Anderson, Dawn of the Dead is in the mall. The remake is better. Yeah, the movies. I love the original Romero
Mm-hmm.
one, and I also love the remake. I think you're right. The remake is actually better. And what I like about the remake is that they didn't try to do it exactly like all they really did was say, okay, we're going to do a zombie story that takes place in a mall. And otherwise, the whole script is different. They didn't try and remake it. Not really. That's what I kind of love that about it. Um, yeah,
Do you like the
Walking Dead season 1 through 4 were good. Yeah, then it
Did
just
that just
jumped.
end?
I don't know, 'cause I quit watching a few seasons ago, it got really bad. I love the
No.
comics, Robert Kirkman, that was almost all most of the comics I have are Robert Kirkman, and, I thought the show was really great for a few seasons.
It was good, like, up until Negan, and up until the point where they faked Glenn's death. Do you remember
Yes.
that episode that
Yes!
pissed the entire internet off?
Thank you.
Like, I think that's when the turning point started to happen, where a lot of
Yeah.
people started to check out. And certainly once they introduced Negan and what happened there, I think a lot of people were out. I kept watching for a couple seasons afterwards because I'm a completionist. Like I watched
Yeah.
all 7 seasons of True Blood, and I was getting more and more pissed off the more it went on, but I stuck with it. But with Walking Dead, I just couldn't anymore. I was like, this is just the same thing over and over again. Like it had the thing that I was worried about Battlestar Galactica, which I'm glad Battlestar ended sooner than later because I think it was originally supposed to go 5 seasons, but only went 4. But I was worried because they're essentially roughly kind of the same story, whereas a group of refugees or survivors who are fleeing some evil force, they find some place that they think they're safe. Bad guys attack, a few of the good guys die, they flee, find some place they're safe, bad guys attack, a few of them
Same
die.
thing.
It's just it, yeah, there was really no direction to it. And so that was just getting on my nerves. Like, where was this going? And it was very clear that, and it's still clear that AMC has no other shows to really try to replace Walking. Even though Walking Dead's ratings declined at one point, I think it was double digits, millions of views, and now I think it ended with like 2 million per episode or something like that.
Gosh, yeah,
But
everyone
they're spinning it off.
but
Like
even
Negan has his own show with
oh,
Glenn's wife. What I'm blank on her
Maggie.
name, Maggie.
Well, maybe
I
it'll
think
be
Michonne and Rick are having a show. I think
Well, maybe
Gerald's getting
that'll
some
be
show.
good like, a good thing, though, because maybe, like, new blood, get back to the basics, My whole thing wasn't that they kept repeating the plot. My whole thing was that they just I like the way that some of the main characters would be killed off, but they did it too many times where it was just like, "Who are these people? I don't care about any of these people." In the middle of, by season 6 or something, I'm like, "I don't even who are these people?" Like, why? Quit introducing new characters. Like, it got annoying, and the plot lines got more ridiculous, where it got away
Yeah.
from the basics. The basic of any great zombie story is that the humans in an post-apocalyptic world, humans become very monstrous or can. That Alexander Solzhenitsyn quote about how the line dividing good and evil runs down the heart of every man. I think when you're put through the fire in the test, humans, there's more incentive to maybe abandon. There's no rules or structure, government or police force or whatever, and people are more likely to be like, I'm just going to live here on the evil side for a little bit. And that's a very interesting part of every zombie story is how the humans become almost more monstrous than the monsters. And they kind of got away from that and just got into these very fantastical, I don't know. Once they started pretending to be zombie, there was like a group of people who pretends to be
Oh
zombies. Like,
yeah.
stop it. It's too stupid.
But all their characters, at least the older characters, had their arcs pretty quickly. Like
Mhm.
they all lost somebody close to them. They all dealt with it, dealt with struggles of nihilism and existentialism and all this stuff. And so after a while, it's like, what's left for these characters when you've already explored their arc? There's nothing
Yeah.
left.
Then they try and come up with new, yeah, I don't know. You're right. It just went on too long. I will say, I don't know if they're still doing these. They probably are, but several years ago now, that's how long Walking Dead's been on the air. Many years ago now, uh, I was in Atlanta visiting a friend and a bunch of old friends from high school, and we went on a Walking Dead tour,
Oh,
and it
that's
was
cool.
pretty cool. You get on a bus, and they take you to all these shooting locations, but the best part of the tour was the tour guide was this local. I can't remember her name. Let's say Candy. So she's just like she was just folks like her personality made the whole tour because you're on the bus and she's like, now, I'm going to tell you a story about the other day when I was out here for filming. And did you know that Norman Reedus, he drive like everything was just this sort of like you're sitting with this lady on her back porch, just hearing just stories. That was it. That was like if you didn't have that tour guide, I don't know if it would be that interesting, but
I wish they could have had like Andrew Lincoln, and he just has to say Carl, Coral
Carl,
over and over again.
Carl.
I didn't know he's British for the longest time, which is always weird when I find out like some of what I thought was American actor, especially with the superheroes like Henry Cavill, British, Tom Holland, British, Christian Bale, British. They're taking our jobs, Keri, is what I'm trying to say.
They're taking our jobs. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Anybody who doesn't watch The Walking Dead is probably like, why are they talking about this forever? But this is just a fun hanging out show.
yeah.
What else do
Can
you
you
have for me?
bring up the second article? So this article is on some reboots of some classic TV shows. We're gonna see how surprised you are for some of these.
Oh no. How much race and gender swapping is happening?
Oh, not enough.
You were the one that told me they remade Perfect Strangers and they made it like two black women.
Yeah, I don't know if
Right?
that's come out yet, but there it's in production. I don't know. Maybe they realized how terrible of an idea that was and canceled it. I don't know.
Real quick. Oh, thank you guys for the super chats. Here, let me just cover these so I don't get too far behind. Pirate Tomsky, £5. Thank you, sir. Says I'm going to give Chris some credit for watching episode 1 of Deadwood.
Thank you. I did watch it. Pirate's been trying to get me to watch Deadwood for a while. I watched it. Unfortunately, I'm not hooked on it. And like, let me be honest, I'm not like super into westerns, although I do like some of them. Like, I just watched Unforgiven for the first time the other day, the Clint Eastwood one, and like that a lot. But a lot of westerns, I'm just because I'm a sci-fi guy. I like the future. I like the idea of technology progressing and having um, these things that do with philosophy being incorporated into the story.
Well,
Uh,
did you like Westworld? Because that was
I
kind of
like Westworld, but yeah,
sci-fi
that was kind of
and
mix and stuff. Yeah, and then that's kind of similar. Michael Crichton, but kind of similar to like Jurassic Park, a little bit about mankind playing God in a
Mhm.
sense, and things going wrong, obviously. So, because I've told you before, one of the reasons I love Jurassic Park so much is because of that specifically, because of the whole ethical questions. Because if it was just a movie about some people going to an island being chased by dinosaurs or something, it would have been all great, but it wouldn't have been what Jurassic Park was. And arguably, that's what the Jurassic Park franchise has turned into. Just people running from dinosaurs the whole damn time. It's boring to me, but apparently people still love it because it still makes billions of dollars.
There's no resentment there in that remark at all.
No.
Thank you, Pirate Tomsky. Another £5 super chat. Thank you. Says Hollywood loves post-apocalyptic shows because their politics are creating a wasteland, which leads to one of them.
Mhm. Oh, we talked a little bit on that. I think we maybe the zombie one we did and the predictive programming, but brought up the question of like how much of this is either trying to get people in the mindset that things are going to go south, or maybe people are it's just coming out, the people who are involved in producing these things, that they have a more pessimistic outlook on humanity and the future, and so that's what's being incorporated in these shows. I don't know, but I think there's got to be something to that. I mean, the
Well, there's
popularity is that deep
also,
down.
I don't know, remember we looked at those studies that showed that during times of war or economic recession or the Great Depression, things like that, people gravitate more towards horror films, like, the big monster movies like Mothra and Godzilla. And maybe some of it is you that escapism into something that's worse than your current situation, that's like, oh,
Mhm.
that's people surviving that, psychologically. It's like, look, these guys are surviving in the zombie apocalypse. I
Yeah,
can
but
make it through this.
there's always been an element of sci-fi that's kind of explored, the um, how do I say, technology that our abilities and technology that go far beyond our ability to understand its consequences. And so you saw during the atomic age, when atomic energy and atomic bombs and all that was just happening, you saw a lot of movies about mutated bugs and insects. Of course, Godzilla in Japan, they're still, or at that time, dealing with trauma of the end of World War II with the atomic bombs being dropped on them. And as you go through time, you start to see how a lot of times sci-fi kind of reflects, these fears of technology. I mean, look at Terminator. That came out, just about 40 years ago, but that was kind of, I would say, kind of the beginning of fear of AI. That and Blade Runner, I would say, fear of artificial intelligence. And that's only something that's just continuing to grow and ties back into what I was talking about earlier with the creator. And we're
Yeah.
just
It's
feeling the
continued
same
to
stuff.
grow, and yet it hasn't. I saw a meme today. It was a Terminator meme, and it was what was his name? John Connor,
Hmm?
the character in the Terminator, Sarah
Yeah.
Connor's
Yeah.
son, John
John
Connor.
Connor.
It was a picture of excuse me, a picture of him, and it said John Connor looking at you guys become friends with the AI. Like, it's kind of like there's a fear of it, but
Mhm.
everyone seems to be running willy-nilly into it right now. I'm going
Well,
to
it's
talk to
interesting.
Chat BT. Yeah.
I know. Well, it's interesting. I listened to years ago, listened to a roboticist, or AI developer. I don't know what his actual title was, but he was talking about how there's two camps within AI scientists, people who are concerned about it and people who aren't. And people concerned about it obviously are concerned about it becoming, murderous and inciting murder is all. But there's the camp that isn't fearful of AI. They make the argument that what's more likely to happen is not that AI would choose to destroy humanity, it's that AI would become ambivalent towards humanity because it wouldn't be able to identify with humans, and that it would build a spaceship and then take off in space to go explore the universe, leaving us behind. It basically be like Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen. It just, you can't relate to humanity. And I thought that was an interesting
Yeah.
point of view because it's not something we see represented a lot in television and films, because it's always about AI turning against us, which part of me thinks like, is that us believing that if we create something that's essentially almost a god, that it would judge humanity as being horrible and decide to murder
Yeah.
us all? Like, is that what we all deep down think, that humanity is so bad that, of course, we would all be condemned to death because the AI robot thinks we're
I
horrible?
think that's so interesting. I do think it would be much more likely for AI to, as you said, become ambivalent and just kind of like, I want to keep learning things. Let's go in search of more data and information. Goodbye, humanity.
Yeah, yeah. I actually want to write a story about that, where like, because typically, like I was saying, the AI is always trying to kill people and all that. But if there's a story where the AI just chooses to leave humanity, and humanity have built itself to be dependent on it, and so they have to like try to go track it down to bring it back, to beg it to reintegrate itself into society because they have become so reliant on it.
Well,
Be
it
kind of
might
funny.
wipe out humanity just because even if out of that ambivalence, be like, well, we've got to take all these resources so that we can fuel whatever, you know? The kind of ambivalence could lead to,
Hmm.
who cares what happens here? We're going in search of more data.
Yeah. Well, James Cameron is going to make another Terminator. Apparently, he's writing one, and he was saying he's waiting for how AI shakes out. I'm not sure what exactly he meant by that, but I'm like, can you just like not write a new one? Just let it be. I mean, the Terminator franchise, one of those franchises that I honestly think should never have gone past two movies, and
Why?
just because there's just not enough there for multiple
Uh,
movies. It was a great idea, a great story, but there's just not enough there. There's certain franchises where the base story is great for one or two installments, but after that, it's not. I mean, Predator's the same thing. Like, they should have stopped Predator. I'll give them Predator 2. I know a lot of people don't like it, but Predator 2 is okay. But after that, certainly it should have stopped.
they're just trading on the name. Like you
Yeah.
said, instead of coming up with some new story about AI, it's like, oh, why don't we just use this existing franchise
Hmm.
Terminator that already has fans,
Well,
Um, Pirate Tomsky, 2 pounds. Thank you, sir. Says Chris is a completionist, huh? Well,
oh, no.
Deadwood.
I'm tired.
He's also weighing in on Predator 2. No, Predator 2.
You don't like Danny Glover fighting a predator?
But Kevin
Come on
likes it.
now. Yeah, way to go, Kevin.
Okay, I'm adding this article. Let's get back. Let's do this
Oh
article. I
yeah.
got sidetracked with super chats. Thank you guys. So this is an article you sent me from looper.com. Upcoming TV reboots that you didn't know were in the works. And there's a picture of Frasier here.
Yeah. Which I never watched Frasier, so I'm not like excited, but whatever.
Here I'm going to read some of this. Reboots, revivals, remakes, and reimaginings of TV favorites across genres and target audiences from recent and not so recent years have dominated television and streaming services lately. They provide new delights, closure for fans of the original shows, and some have even earned critical acclaim. It seems like nearly everything from the 90s or 2000s with a modicum of name recognition has made a return to the air or a streaming service, including The X-Files, Twin Peaks, yeah, I loved the original Twin Peaks. When they brought it back recently, not so much. Will and Grace. They brought back Will and Grace.
Oh. I didn't know they brought
Ew.
back Dallas. Well, I'm finding out all sorts of things from this.
iCarly, Mystery Science Theater 3000. I didn't know that
I
came back
don't like
either.
mystery, the new stuff, mystery. I love the old mystery
The old
science,
stuff
but
is great.
yeah, the
The
new stuff I'm
Tick,
like,
Gilmore Girls, The Twilight Zone. They brought back the Twilight. I didn't even know any of those.
yeah, Jordan Peele produced the new Twilight Zone. I only saw
Really?
one episode. It was
Was it
okay,
good?
but it was all right.
Dallas, Charmed, and Friends. They brought back Friends?
I don't know. Did they? I never watched Friends.
I
They
never
weren't
watched
my
it
friends,
either.
Keri.
They weren't my friends either. I thought I was alone in that. I tried to watch a couple episodes, like, I don't get it. I don't like these people.
I liked it better when it's called In Living Single or just Living Single. No, no.
Living single. It's a craze that shows no sign of slowing down. Audiences want, or at least production executives think they want, the comfort of a familiar situation and characters, but the newness of fresh adventures. If you're waiting with bated breath for your favorite show to make a comeback, no, who is doing that? Nobody wants their favorite show to be remade. Don't fret, it might just be on this list of reboots on the way. The Flintstones will return. What?
Uh-oh.
Older and anxious in Bedrock. No, they're going to ruin it. The original incarnation of the Flintstones is one of the first primetime animated series, a loose but obvious cartoon clone of the Honeymooners, taking place in the pun-filled Stone Age town of Bedrock and following the adventures of Fred, Wilma, and Pebbles Flintstone, as well as neighbors Barney, Betty, and Bam Bam Rubble. It ran from 1960 to 1966 and forever after in reruns, spawning a number of spin-offs in the decade since.
I hope they make Fred sexually attracted to dinosaurs.
Oh my gosh. Did you
That'd be
ever
great.
read that book Taken by the Pterodactyl?
No? What is that?
A few years ago, maybe 10 years ago now, somebody discovered that there was this whole genre of erotica novels. And I ended up buying the audiobook Taken by the Pterodactyl because I just wanted to see if it was, or I bought the Kindle version, I think. I just wanted to see is this for real? And it is for real. This woman, I can't remember the author's name, but she wrote a whole series of books about women having sex with dinosaurs.
Looks like they got a plot for Jurassic Park 8 or whatever.
Yeah. It's gross. Okay. You thought you were just making a joke, but little did you know.
Now I have to look this up. Thanks, Keri. I have
Taken
to.
by
I'm
the
too curious
pterodactyl.
now. I'm never coming back.
Okay, so it says in March of 2023, this year, per deadline, Fox ordered a short pilot of a new Flintstones. In the presentation, Banks will play. Oh
no! Is this gonna be like Wilma?
is it? It's not going to be animated.
Wait, what?
Oh my goodness. Okay,
No, it
Elizabeth
says
Banks.
voiced by Stephen Root and Amy Sedaris. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, Elizabeth Banks as an adult Pebbles Flintstone. Pebbles' parents, Fred and Wilma, will be voiced by Stephen Root and Amy Sedaris, while Joe Toad Truglio will portray Barney and Betty Rubble, and Manny Jacinto is set to play
Wait,
Bam Bam.
he plays both? Okay. Or she? I don't know. Who knows who this person is?
Yeah, well, voice actors, some of them can do that. You know, remember Miss Piggy? What was his name? Did Miss Piggy?
Did Frank Oz do?
Frank Oz. He did all kinds.
Why are there rainbows?
Yeah. Okay, Frasier will be back, and he'll be somewhere new and familiar. In early 2021, Viacom, CBS, and Paramount rebranded their little-noticed streaming service, CBS All Access, as Paramount Plus. Plus. At launch, they announced an ambitious slate of programs in development. One of the most significant intellectual properties on the list, Frasier. According to Deadline, Kelsey Grammer will reprise his role as Frasier Crane, the snobby, arrogant, serially dating Seattle radio psychiatrist whom he portrayed from 1993 to 2004.
I'm happy for Kelsey Grammer because one, he's conservative, and I know it's tough to be conservative in Hollywood, so it's nice to see him get some high-profile work. Two, he's been doing crappy movies like Money Plane, and I felt really bad for him. Like, what happened, man? Yeah.
What is that?
Oh, you're gonna have to watch the trailer for Money. Maybe we can watch it later.
Money Plane?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna pull up the trailer.
Oh, Money Plane. This is good.
Is it terrible?
No, not at all. It's really good stuff. It's a high quality entertainment. I mean, it's probably like ranked with Godfather 2.
Has anyone in the chat heard of Money Plane? I've never even heard of this. Okay, here we go.
You a gambling man, Jack?
Not anymore.
Once a gambling man, always a gambling man.
Let's go, let's go!
You bet everything you had. Toss up a coin. One side, you, your family, live the life they always dreamed of. On the other side, you lose everything. You owed a lot of money to some very bad people. So I bought your debt. Now you're gonna have to repay me that debt. Can we just get to the job?
He's a wrestler, by the way. Main guy.
Okay, so let me guess the rest of the movie. There's a plane. It has a lot of money on it. He has to steal the plane and bring all the money to Kelsey Grammer. No? Yes?
Did you write this movie, Karen?
Is that it?
Basically.
So stupid. Cheeky Mirror says no. Well, those fans of Kelsey Grammer, you can celebrate because apparently he's coming back as Frasier. And this article says he's no longer going to be playing a well, he's the same character, but he's no longer a radio psychiatrist in Seattle. He has moved back to Boston, where he's originally from, from the show Cheers, and to take a job as a college professor. And I did see Pirate Tomsky in the chat say, this is going to be super woke. And I just wonder, he's playing a college professor. I wonder how woke is going to be addressed. Are they going to be critical of it at all? I think they might be. The tide is turning. I hope they would be.
I'm gonna find out.
Here's another one. What? Ally McBeal coming back.
They're gonna bring back that stupid dancing baby.
No. Nobody cares about the dancing baby anymore. In the late 90s, narrative television was almost totally binary. The big four broadcast networks ruled the airwaves with essentially two kinds of scripted shows: laugh track laden, half-hour sitcoms, and hour-long dramas. Ally McBeal arrived on Fox in 1997 and instantly disrupted TV. It was an hour-length comedy with elements of drama, soap opera, and fantasy. It featured an often hard-to-like lead character in Ally McBeal. I never really watched this show, so...
Me neither.
David E. Kelly. Okay, that's the guy who produced Big Little Lies and produced the show I mentioned at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
Love and Death. He says a reboot could happen in 2018. He said, quote, "But I don't think it should be done by me. If it were going to be done, it really should be done by a woman." Okay. And then in August 2022, Deadline announced that ABC... It's just pandering. It should be done by a woman.
Just whipping himself, flogging himself.
Yeah. Why didn't he think Love and Death should be done by a woman? It's about women. Or Big Little Lies, about 3 women. Anyway.
Like these guys are funny.
In August of 2022, Deadline announced that ABC was in development on an Ally McBeal adjacent series, written and produced by Grey's Anatomy and Mixed-ish executive producer Karen Gist. The new legal comedy will center on a recent law school graduate who is the daughter. So it sounds like she's not in it. Oh no. There's 2 things happening. So there's a spinoff, an adjacent series without her, and then there's this thing here happening. I skipped over this. According to TV Line, 20th Television, a division of Disney and a corporate sibling to streamer Hulu, began developing an Ally McBeal revival miniseries in March of 2021. Flockhart will likely reprise her titular role.
Can't wait for that.
Okay.
There's more.
It. There's more?
Yeah, there should be more. Way more. There's one particular.
I'm just really hoping one of my favorite shows is not on here. Okay, Chris Hardwick at midnight. Who cares about that?
Nobody.
Married with Children is coming back?
Yeah, but this is going to be animated, which is weird.
What?
Yeah.
Deadline reported in 2022 that Family Guy executive producer and Married with Children distributor Sony Pictures Television has begun work on an animated reboot of the original series. All 4 Bundy actors have signed contracts agreeing to reprise their roles. It will likely air on Fox, Hulu, or Peacock. Wow.
It's like, what?
Starsky and Hutch is coming back? They don't have any new ideas.
Who's a fan of Starsky and Hutch?
You know what? Young people, if you want to, because I know a lot of young people in our generation has done this too, you have nostalgia for decades you didn't even live through. Like I have nostalgia for decades I didn't live through, 20s, 50s. And I know a lot of young people who did not live through the 80s and 90s have nostalgia for it, and they're all like, "Oh, I love the 80s and 90s," even though I wasn't born yet. But you know what? You don't need reboots. You can go and watch series. Isn't that great?
I was thinking about that with music too. How a lot of young people, they don't, in my view, it doesn't seem like young people are as familiar with stuff from the past, like pop culture from the past. And I know it's generational largely, but still, I think a lot of people from my generation were familiar with stuff that happened prior to us being born. Whereas this new generation, they seem not to be curious, even though they have a tool like the internet where you can look up old shows and music and stuff. Like it was weird, like when Stranger Things, when what's her name, running up the hill, Kate Bush.
Kate Bush.
Yeah, when her song got big off of that, and all these kids were finding out about this song and 80s music, I'm like, all you have to do is go to YouTube and type in 80s music playlist or compilation, and you'll find tons of them, and many of them have that song in it. But it just seems like they don't really want to explore the past, but occasionally it gets featured on some new product or something.
And then they love it.
Yeah.
That's the thing is, just think about how many of these old songs the young people have discovered, like the Kate Bush song. There are so many. There's an endless number, an infinite number of songs like that you haven't discovered yet that are old songs. Like, listen to some old music. I really wish it wasn't just limited to those particular songs that get featured, then blow up and that's it.
Yeah.
I wish we would see this renaissance of young people who are like, oh, I actually want to listen to old music and learn about old music. And here's a young person in the chat.
Tell us, young person. What do you have to say?
Hello, young fella. Nick Napoli. He's 31. He says, I'm 31 and I have that nostalgia. Yeah, I think we all do. It's not I'm not picking on this like young people, because like I mentioned, we've had nostalgia for previous decades. And when we were young, all the movies were about like the 60s and the 70s and Big Chill and stuff like that. And it's about all these decades we had not lived through. And but you know what we did? We went and watched all these old movies and we listened to old music. And I don't know how many young people are doing that.
Yeah, because I was a kid. I was familiar with a lot of stuff from the 50s and 60s, like My Three Sons and Donna Reed Show and Bewitched and Green Acres. That came out way before I was born. So I'm like, why can't kids who have access to Netflix and on all these other streaming platforms go back and watch some old movies from the 80s and 70s?
KL Burke says, get off my lawn. Yeah.
Yes.
You're feeling our vibe, KL Burke. ADL 1992, hello, says, I'm 31 and I have nostalgia for the 1990s as well. Yeah, I get it. And Star Wars Marvel says, hello, Keri Smith. Hope all's well. Hope to see you at the Dallas meetup if you're going. I am going. I can't stay the whole time because I have to work on a Saturday. But if you guys are going to the Friday Night Tights meetup, which I believe is happening on Thursday, is it the 8th? If you're going to be at the Dallas meetup, you already know when this is happening, probably better than I do. Anyway, I'm going to be at the Thursday meetup, I think. So I would love to see you there. I hope I do see you. Come up and say hello. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. I forgot. Okay. And then Pirate Tomsky, feeling generous tonight. Thank you, sir. £5 super chat says, can we remake Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and call it Freshly Unarmed in Chicago?
I have a confession. I'm still watching Bel-Air.
Are you?
I am.
Did you hear that, Pirate?
I can't
he's
quit
still he's still watching the reboot.
Yeah. Carlton's still addicted to cocaine, so there we go.
Oh gosh.
I can't stop much. I'm like, what are they doing? I have to see what's going on.
Like a year ago, one of our very first pop culture episodes was about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot. Yep. And you should go and check it out if you haven't seen it. And then Pirate, £2 super chat, thank you, says, all of this is bullshit, but the writer strike kills it all.
Well, a lot of people think that a lot of studios want this strike to last a long time so they can get out of certain deals and trim the fat, as it were. Get rid of a lot of the lesser writers. Yeah. Because it's basically a bubble. I mean, you had all these people who ran to streaming, developed their own shows so they could have their own streaming service, but there's just too many shows, too many streaming services, and it's just not sustainable. So the bubble's popping.
The bubble's popping. Maybe some of these planned reboots will not get made now because of the strike.
You can only hope.
Well, they say they're bringing back Starsky and Hutch, which ran from 1975 to 1979, a police action drama. It says in 2004. Oh, that's right. Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson did a movie adaptation
Oh yeah,
in which
I think I
Huggy Bear
saw
was
that.
played by Snoop Dogg. Yeah.
Yeah.
In 2023, in February of this year, the Hollywood Reporter announced that Fox has begun work on a new version of Starsky and Hutch. Like its predecessors, the series will center on a detective duo. Unlike them, both leading roles will be portrayed by female actors.
I can't act like I'm surprised though. I mean, honestly,
What? I'm just so
are they
tired of
lesbians
this.
though? They gotta be.
Oh gosh, let's read the rest of this. In the revival, best friends and police partners Sasha Starsky and Nicole Hutchinson live and work in an oddball locale called Desert City, fighting crimes and busting bad guys while also trying to unlock the show's overarching mystery: who framed their dads and sent them to prison. Two Fox drama veterans, Sam Sclaver of Prodigal Son and Elizabeth Peterson of The Resident, signed on as writers and showrunners for the Fox Sony collaboration, and the plan is for them to submit multiple scripts to the network before a decision about production will be made. But they've already decided it's two ladies. It's got to be two ladies. We're
It's
redoing it, but with
always women.
Clone High. I don't
Never
even
watched
know what
Clone
that
High.
is.
Animated show. I think it's on MTV.
Who's the Boss?
I'm
is
shocked
coming
by
back.
this one. It's Tony Danza going to be part of it.
I can't believe this. The wholesome family comedy Who's the Boss was a smash hit for ABC, aired from 1984 to 1992. Here, let's scroll down. In 2020, according to the Hollywood Reporter, Sony Pictures Television announced a continuation of Who's the Boss with original series stars Danza and Alyssa Milano on board to once more portray Tony and Samantha. Set more than 30 years after the end point of the 1992 series, the revival finds Tony retired from his job as a housekeeper and Samantha a single mother living in her childhood home, the same house where much of Who's the Boss took place. Nearly 2 years later, in 2022, the Hollywood Reporter reported that, quote, that One Day at a Time reboot writers Mike Royce and Bridget Leibowitz would be pen scripts for the new show, and exclusive to Amazon's ad-supported streaming service, Freevee. Oh, so it sounds like they're still working on this. Who's the Boss?
Yeah, that's not going to get done anytime soon.
New episodes of Futurama?
Yeah, I think this is coming out soon. And they might even have the trailer out. I forget.
Okay. It's going to return this time on Hulu. It hasn't been gone that long. A new Matlock? I mean, this just goes on and on. They don't have any new ideas. Andy Griffith, of course, was the original Matlock. It says in 2023, CBS ordered a pilot for a new series, selecting Academy Award winner Kathy Bates to take over as the crafty, sweet-smiling 70-something lawyer. Her character will be Madeline Matlock.
It's always a woman. They always do this. It's just like Mad Libs, you know.
It is Mad Libs. Like, what woman are they going to put in the role? Faulty Towers?
So I'm interested by this because John Cleese is a part of it, but it's also being produced by Rob Reiner's production company. I'm like, that's odd. I'm not sure what to expect then.
That's weird because Rob Reiner is super woke.
Yes.
But John Cleese is not. In 2009, Cleese said he wasn't interested in a Faulty Towers revival. Quote, I think everyone would be excited if we did it, he told the BBC. But the problem is when you do something that's generally accepted as being very good, a horrible problem arises, which is how do you top it? The expectation of what you will do is so high. Exactly. That's why you should not remake things. Unless you know it's going to be great. Cleese presumably found a way because in 2023, he announced a Faulty Towers revival was imminent. Cleese and his daughter, comedian Camilla Cleese, will write and star the new show. Interesting. Everybody Hates Chris.
Which I only saw like a couple episodes, but I liked it. It's like the Black Wonder Years, basically, until they rebooted the Wonder Years, but made everyone black. Which I wonder if that got canceled, probably.
Well, they're bringing it back. Paramount, it's ordered an animated reboot.
Okay.
Just come up with something new.
No, that requires creativity and thinking.
A King of the Hill revival is coming.
Well, they just did a revival of Beavis and Butthead, so I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, how many more of these are there? Is that the last
Mhm.
one?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for that. I didn't know about
Yeah.
hardly any of those.
Bunch of shows to look forward to not watching.
Therese, no, King of the Hill. Yeah,
That show was on for a while too. Wasn't it on for like
on
a
for a
decade or
long
something?
time. Yeah, the fears they'll make it terrible and woke, or
I
just
don't know.
terrible.
Mike Judge doesn't seem like he'd give into the woke stuff.
I don't know. I don't trust anything anymore.
I don't trust anybody anymore.
Okay, what else should I bring up?
That was all the articles. The only other thing I have is videos, and then my list.
Okay, let's bring up, what is this Walmart video?
This is just a video of Walmart in 1997. I just wanted to show it for nostalgic reasons and just remind people how quaint Walmart once was.
This is why I just love hanging out with you, working with you, because you bring up the most interesting random thing.
That's what I'm good for.
Okay, shopping at Walmart in 1997. Is this really just a footage of people shopping?
Yeah. This whole channel is just footage of people shopping at various places from the 80s and 90s. Look how peaceful.
What were you doing in 97?
What was I doing? I don't know. Being a nerd, drawing.
I was in my first and second year of college.
Yeah, we weren't at Walmart.
I was at Walmart.
And look, notice like the lack of black people fighting and shoplifting.
Stop it!
Look at, no, I'm serious. Look at that. That's so peaceful. That's heaven.
Dude, do people watch this just to relax?
Yeah. There's another channel that has like, it's all music from it's like in-store music from the past. So there's like a 70s one where it's like all like music they play in stores back in the 70s. And sometimes I'll just put that on. It's pretty relaxing.
You showed me that one once, I think. Okay, this is wild. It's just
extras
footage.
inside. Look at it. I feel so safe.
If we could just go back to 1997.
No.
Look at these terrible hairdos, though. I think the 90s had some of the worst hairdos. And I include myself in this. Terrible hair in the 90s.
I love your picture for that picture with the big poofy hair. No, you have an old lady working cashier. She's not at the door, pretending to check receipts.
2686, please.
People were just as large back then.
Checkbooks? Nobody remembers checkbooks,
No.
do they?
Like, I seriously think there's barely anybody under age 45 that still writes checks. I don't think there is.
There's a check. This guy's trying on some boots. Okay, we're going to stop. This is weird. Anyway, what a weird channel.
No, slow it down.
Gene Ellis says, back when Walmart had signs that said, "We buy American made, so you can." Yeah.
But I remember back in the day, you could get like pets. I used to get hamsters and fish from Walmart. Like, it was just crazy to think about a time where like Walmart wasn't this giant store that every town had. It's like it was basically rivaling Target and Kmart and all these similar ones that are the same size and didn't really rise above them. And it's just a few years after that, they became super Walmarts everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, this next video I've seen.
Okay.
Let's watch it though. It reminds me of the drummer in the wrong band video
Yes.
that I showed you last week or the week before.
That's why I brought it up. I wasn't sure if you saw it before.
I've been down the rabbit hole of overqualified drummers. This is a great one though. He's just really great. He's just overqualified.
I want to know his story though.
Who that guy is?
Yeah, he's got to have an interesting story.
Well, he's
Or maybe not. I don't know.
That's probably, what was that, like some kind of mall gig? And he's in a costume and he's still like, I'm going to be the best I can be.
I like that.
Okay, what is this thing that you sent me? Anime Family Matters.
Yeah, it's just the animated Family Matters thing. Again, this is all random stuff, but I thought it was funny.
This is for our Intermittent Frivolity night, so we're just watching, we're just having fun. Okay, let's see.
It's a rare condition in this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. There must be a magic clue inside this gentle walls. 'Cause all I see is a town of dreams, real love doesn't ever seem.
Hi, Laura. The big dance is coming up. Will you go with me?
Urkel-san, no.
Why not?
Urkel son?
It doesn't matter who, Urkel-san, as long as it's not you. My daughter is too good for you. It's the truth.
If that's the truth, then we must fight.
Did somebody make a whole series of this?
I don't think so. I think it's only this.
Only the one?
Yeah.
This is really good.
Yes.
Wow. Do I need to watch the whole show?
Yeah.
Thing?
Yeah, it's funny.
I've been waiting years for this.
Me too. Programming Urkelbot.
No, I don't want to fight Urkelbot. I want to fight Urkel-san.
I fall and I can't get up.
Get up, Urkel-san.
Of course, I must be brave. Brave and strong. Urkel-san, drink this potion. My name is Stefan.
Your name.
You are strong. Stronger than I ever thought.
Did I do that?
Oh, well
man.
done. Well done.
Where did you find that?
I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Okay, let's see. What is this next one? Duckman and
So do you remember Duckman? So this was a series on in the mid-90s. Jason Alexander did the voice, and he was a duck that was kind of misogynist, but I love this show.
Sort of.
Yeah. Well, I found a clip which I think is kind of relevant for everything going on today. So it's kind of...
Is it a real clip from the show?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I ever watched it. I kind of remember this, I guess.
Mr. Duckman, perhaps you're impaled on the horns of this particular dilemma because you haven't adapted to our changing culture. We can give you a simple test to judge whether or not your attitudes line up with the new guidelines from the Regime Poulet Society.
Dream on! I never take a test that isn't court mandated.
This one's easy. Number 1. Females over the age of 18 are often called girls. How should you refer to them?
Sweet potato?
No.
Love socket?
No.
Box lunch?
No. It's Mary. W-O-M-Y-N. When you're on a date, when is it okay to kiss her?
When her husband's gone?
No.
Destroy her. After she passes out?
Written permission certified by a regime-approved republic. Let's move on to the word association part of the test.
Breasts.
Mr. Duckman, we haven't
Breasts.
No,
Breasts.
white.
Breasts.
Wow, he's so un-PC. What year is this?
This is like 97, 98.
You could never do this today.
I know. That's why I love this show.
You could never do this today. I never watched this.
Oh, I love it.
Maybe I should have. Here, should I finish the clip?
Yeah.
Peanut butter.
Breasts.
Tanzania.
Breasts.
Communism.
Breasts.
Dolly Parton.
Bad hair.
Oh, Mr. Duckman, look at the time.
Earlier today, the Regine Poulet Society proposed a ban on the sale of boysenberries until a genetically equal girlsenberry is
Oh
developed.
no!
Language was renamed today. Thanks to the Regine Poulet Society, Hebrew will now be known as Weebrew.
The Regine Poulet Society charged a sewer worker with sexual misconduct for referring to his manhole.
Oh, so true.
Wow.
So true.
That is the world we're in now.
Yeah.
How did they know? How did they know what was coming?
It's like it wasn't that long ago. How do we get here?
Okay, now what's this last link?
Oh, this is my gift to everybody. So I don't know if you've heard of this. It's been around for a while. So it's a website called My 90s TV, and there's actually 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s versions. But you press power. If you go over to the power button there. All right, change channels music. Go down the channel. Flip it.
Oh, so I can change the channel?
Yeah, change the channel.
It's like TV used to be.
Yes. You can choose years, as you can see down there.
President Clinton is trying to cut down on the number of nuclear
You mean on the right, the decades?
Or underneath, you see the different years, but you can go to different decades too.
Oh,
like,
the different years, like 1991.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
And it's just always airing stuff?
Yeah, it's basically taking videos that are on YouTube, but they're doing through this interface. But I've wasted hours on this. It's
What? This is great.
yeah, isn't it?
It is nostalgia. This is crazy. I am
Yeah.
gonna waste time here.
You can go to
Let's see what's on the
50s
talkie show. Oh my goodness. You go 1998. Soap opera channel.
I'm assuming that you had no idea that we planted a bug in Teague's house and everything you just said.
Really starts exploring in earnest.
Let's look at 1950s TV.
Yeah, I thought you'd like the 50s one. Since 50s your favorite decade, right?
It's, I don't know. I go back and forth between the 20s and the 50s.
Why is that?
Well, in terms of the music,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of it has to do with the music.
Ah.
And also, I like the 30s and 40s too. I've been listening to a lot of music from those 2 decades recently. The wartime radio stuff. Anthony
yeah.
found this great channel on Radio Garden for old wartime radio music.
I listened to old wartime broadcasts. Like I was listening to the Pearl Harbor one back when Pearl Harbor, the latest anniversary last December. Yeah.
I bet they have some of them on here. Wait, so where's the power? Oh, it's
That's
a different
it, yeah.
power button because
And
the
yeah,
TV.
Yeah. So, and you'll just click on the knob to change the channel.
Oh,
I think the one below or right by the power to the left. The knob, the gold knob. Right next to the ears.
I'm just turning the volume down a bit.
Oh. Yeah, there we go.
This is great. Let's go to 1951.
What are you doing here?
What?
Lil was a pretty good friend of mine.
What?
Basilica outside the walls is situated, as its name indicates, beyond the walls of ancient Rome. Once every year, the reigning pontiff celebrates Mass here.
But of course.
They only have 3 channels in 1951? Okay.
Well, the tenants are kind of weak.
Who came up with this?
I don't know. This person deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, though.
And you can over here on the right, you can select.
Filter it. Yeah.
You can filter it and say, I don't want to see any sports channels or soap operas. Like, you can choose which channels it shows you. This is super cool. Thank you for showing me this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This is what the internet's for.
I know. Makes me happy.
What's the website someone says?
My 90s TV. It's basically in any of the decades. So if you type in my 50s TV, my 90s TV, my 80s TV, .com, it'll take you to that website.
Wow. That was fun. Okay. And now we have, are we going to try and get to all of some of your favorite? Let's do it.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
Should I open your top movies or your top TV shows?
Let's do TV shows. Jumbo.
And you prepared a slideshow.
Yes. And the thing is, like, it was hard trying to figure out my top 10, and I'm still not satisfied with it because there's so many shows. I'm like, I don't know. So it's not like a definite top 10, although some of them I can firmly say are in my top 10. I mean, the first 2 should be obvious. It's not in particular order either.
Okay, I think I have this here. Let's see. Hold on.
There's one. Oh wait, what are you doing? That's was it recording? Are you recording a presentation? That's what it looks like.
What do you mean recording?
There was a count at the top. It was like, I think you pressed the record button or something.
Resume, reset. I don't know. How did I do this last time? Okay. Let me try this again. Here we go. You guys, bear with me. Okay, there we go. These are your top shows.
Yes. So this should be no surprise. I know. Keri, but you still need to watch it.
These. Now you have to tell what these are for anybody that's just not watching.
Surprise, this is Star Trek: The Next Generation. My introduction into Star Trek. I've told the story before, but I first got a small Enterprise D toy, and I got a Mr. Scott's Guide to the Enterprise. I had no idea what it was. My dad bought it for me for Christmas when I was like 5, and I basically started my love of Star Trek. So I was a kid and I watched this stuff, and so it's always weird to me when I come across adults that say, "Oh, Star Trek's boring." I'm like, bitch, I was a 5-year-old that watched Star Trek.
Okay, that was not a surprise to me. If anyone watches as regular here with pop culture and mystery quiz, that was going to be on here. Okay,
and you still need to watch one of the episodes. I seriously want you to watch one of the episodes. We watch it together, and then we can talk about it on the show.
I promise we're going to do it.
Good.
Okay.
This should be no surprise either. Yes. Deep Space Nine, which I actually like better than Next Generation. Deep Space Nine is great, and I think like if you were to get into Star Trek, I think you'd probably like Deep Space Nine because you like Battlestar Galactica. And Ronald Moore, who developed the new Battlestar Galactica, was one of the main writers on this, and so it had a lot of similar writers. It was a little darker for Star Trek at that time, but it's got some of the best writing in television history, in my opinion. I love it.
I trust you.
Yes, you should.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
This would be on my list.
Yes, I love Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, I love the original one too, even though the original one was silly. This one I liked because it treated the events from the first that was in the first iteration. It's treated them realistically because they get their entire civilization destroyed, but everyone's pretty cheery in the original Battlestar Galactica. Here, it's obviously a more darker situation where their families are all dead and everything. And so for me, this show never got too dark. and I loved it, especially the first 2 seasons. Third season, fourth season, not as much, but great show.
It's an excellent show. This would be on my top 10 list too. Okay.
Babylon 5 is one of my favorite shows, which they're bringing back, I guess, as a cartoon movie or something, and they might be another live action show. But this is a show that some people say Deep Space Nine was ripped off of. I know Razorfist very much disagrees with that, and I'm looking forward to his video. But this is one that if you'd have to be like a really, I think, hardcore sci-fi person to kind of enjoy this, because it came out in the mid-90s and special effects weren't the greatest, but the story writing was. And so if you're able to kind of overlook, not so great special effects, then I think you can enjoy this. But it had really good writing, and it just got better, increasingly better up until season 4. And then it got canceled. So they wrapped up all of the storylines, but then it got picked up for another season, and so all the storylines had already been concluded, so there wasn't much left. So the 5th season was a bit disappointing, but 3rd and 4th season are just fantastic.
Well, okay, I've never seen this one so far. You're showing me stuff. I love this because we've only overlapped on Battlestar Galactica. I haven't even seen these others yet. Okay, let's see what's next.
I love this show.
Very funny.
I love it so much. I because I have a dark sense of humor, and this show
Strangers with Candy, for anybody who's just listening.
Strangers Candy, Cherry Blank. I love how terrible everyone is to Cherry, and like everyone's terrible and self-centered, except for her friends, which are like really pure. But I love the show. It was a show I didn't appreciate at the time when it first came on. It wasn't until after it got canceled that I started watching it, and was kicking myself for not watching it while it was, on the air. But it's one of my favorite comedies of all time. Hilarious.
It's
Comedy Central show.
I don't think it would be on my top 10, but this is a very funny series. Okay. Taxi.
I love Taxi. It's just amazing. All of the stars they had in that show: Andy Kaufman, Christopher Lloyd, Danny DeVito, all in their prime. It's just a great written show, especially for that time. I love this show. Have you ever watched it?
I never watched Taxi.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you'll like it.
Okay.
Especially Christopher Lloyd's character, Reverend Jim. He's basically a burnt out pothead guy who works at a taxi. It's weird because the show is weird because it's kind of like slightly depressing because so many of these characters had dreams of becoming something more than a taxi driver. But every time there was like an episode where it looked like they were going to become something, like Elaine wanted to be an artist, and Tony wanted to be a boxer, and none of this stuff ever worked out. So they just kept always returning back to the taxi company. But it's a funny show.
News Radio,
one of my favorite shows. Great written. I wish Phil Hartman was still around, because I think that show could have come even bigger than it was. It's kind of has a cult following now. Like, I'm kind of amazed it was on the air for as long as it was, because it never really was like a huge ratings pool. But it's some of the funniest comedy from the 90s, in my opinion.
I watched some episodes of this, but I don't know. It didn't capture me.
There's young Joe Rogan. Yeah. With hair.
Gosh, he looks so young.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what else is on your list. Batman the Animated Series.
Batman Animated Series. I think it's by far the best animated show for children. And when I say children, it's really something I'm enjoyed for all ages, because it's just so intelligently written. It's just amazing, like how well written these shows were. You had a 30-minute show, which really was like 22 minutes once you subtract commercials. But this amount of stories and the quality of the stories that they were able to tell for this kids show was just astonishing. The visuals, it was pretty groundbreaking in terms of visuals as well. How dark it was. They painted on dark backgrounds, but it all worked. It just, everything came together. The vocal talent, Kevin Conroy, rest in peace, was fantastic as Batman. Mark Hamill was great as the Joker. It was just a fantastic series. Did you ever watch it?
No, I didn't.
Wow, I'm really surprised you haven't watched most of these shows.
In the Venn diagram of our favorite series, like we're not overlapping very much,
Yeah.
which is interesting. Okay.
Saturday Night
Saturday Night Live, the 90s part 1.
Yeah. So I when I say Saturday Night Live, I'm talking about specific periods. I debated whether putting Saturday Night Live here, and I say Saturday Night Live / Simpsons because I look at them similarly, where there's a handful of seasons that I think were fantastic, and then the rest was just not good.
Yeah.
And so my favorite time for Saturday Night Live was, early 90s, mid 90s. And of course, I like some of the stuff from when Eddie Murphy was, although he was pretty much the only bright spot during his seasons, and then some of the stuff from the original cast. But outside of that, especially in the last 25 years, I just, not a big fan.
Yeah.
But the 90s, I think, were great.
The 90s were great. Actually, the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Some of my favorites were, because I used to work in college. I worked at a video store, and I used to take home you could take home the SNL VHS tapes with that's how old I am, with the different decades, but you could also take them with like different players on the show. So you could take home like all the Martin Short sketches.
Oh, yeah.
Or all the Gilda Radner. And some of those were just amazing.
I'm not a strong swimmer.
He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Martin Short's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love Martin Short.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
And then
In
Living
Living
Color. Shouldn't be
Color.
surprised that this is on air. And really, Living Color is seasons 1 through 3. After Keenan left, and during the 3rd season, his brother stayed on, and I think a little bit through the 4th season. But after they left, they cast a bunch of new people, and it sucked. But the Living Color, when it first came out, especially when it first came out, like in 1990, it was so groundbreaking. Like, it was so edginess. When I talk about like that late 80s, early 90s period and how exciting it was when you're having all this new media that seemed to be pushing the envelope of acceptable TV, acceptable speech, really. It's awesome. And it's weird how Living Color went from being controversial at the time it came out to not being controversial, because by the late 90s, early 2000s, it was kind of tame, but now it's controversial again because things have gotten so PC that so many of those skits, you're like, wow, how did they get away with this back then? And it's just amazing how it's kind of come around. And I adore this show.
It's awesome. So on PC when you watch it now, you're like shocked. Young people, if you haven't seen this, watch it, because you would be amazed. Like, wow, I can't believe they get away with all this like really hilarious un-PC comedy.
Most of the episodes are on YouTube, I think. And there's also a good book. I think it's called Homie Don't Play That. I read it. I recommend that if anyone's interested. That kind of tells the history of In Living Color and Keenan Ivory Wayans. And it talks a little bit about Chappelle and some of the other Black comedians, but it's a really good read.
I just want to... How many are left on your list?
That's it for the TV.
That's it for TV. A couple people in the chat, I have to agree with you. A couple people were calling out SCTV. I loved SCTV.
Never really watched that.
So funny. I think you'd love it. Mad TV. Look what I can do. Look what I can do. Mad TV was great. Kids in the Hall.
Yes, I love Kids in the Hall.
Kids in the Hall.
See, that's what's so hard, because like there were so many other shows I wanted to put on there. Kids in the Hall is another one. Adventures of Pete and Pete. I love that show. It's hilarious. There's so many others. It's so hard, but The Simpsons, South Park, of course. It's really hard.
I'm just like sketching out my list because look, I've been in the attic doing stuff, insulating. So we'll have to save my favorites for another time, but it is going to be hard to narrow it down. I agree.
Yeah.
We'll have another frivolous night where it's like, okay, no, we're going to have fun, and I'll show you some of my favorite series. But I will say right now, there is one from your list that I know is on mine, and that's Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. So say we all.
So say we all. Okay. Now you also prepared a presentation of some of your favorite movies.
Yep. Same thing here. It's so hard to narrow down to just 10. Because even I'm like second guessing some of the stuff. I'm like, should I put that one on there? I'm like, is it really my top 10? But whatever. We're going with it.
Okay, I'm trying to get it queued up again. I don't know how I did that last time.
Can Keri do it again? The world watches.
I think I've got it figured out. Here we go. Thanks for bearing with us here on the live pop culture.
But this first one should be no surprise. Yep.
Star Trek again on your favorite films
Yes.
list too. Okay.
I love First Contact. I know it's flawed, and I know it's very actiony and doesn't have some of the philosophical stuff that so many of the episodes did, but I still love it. One of the things with like TV shows and movies, obviously, is that a lot of times our attachment is influenced by where we were at that time of viewing it, and this came out at the height of what I would say was the popularity of Star Trek in America. Next Generation had just ended. Voyager was the flagship show on UPN. Remember that network, UPN? First Contact came out, and it was kind of a redesign because they got a new ship, they got new uniforms, they redesigned the Borg, and I just remember being really excited. It just felt like a new era of Star Trek. Fortunately, it didn't last long. For the movies, it was like the only good Next Generation movie, but it was just an exciting time, and Star Trek was relevant, which is just weird to think about. Like, I think I tweeted a month ago, how right before this, I think a year or two before this, Star Trek was on the cover of Time magazine. Like, it's hard to believe that there was a time when it was that big. Saturday Night Live was doing all these skits,
culturally
making fun of it.
relevant.
Yeah. Patrick Stewart
Not
hosted Saturday Night Live. Yep. So, yeah.
I have to say hello to Jean. Hey, Jean Ellis. She says, y'all are babies. My favorites were over when y'all were born, evidently. Thank
I
you,
want to see a
Jean.
list.
Yeah, you should give us a list. Okay, let's see what else is on Mystery Chris's list of top
What
films.
is?
RoboCop 2.
I don't care what people say. I know this is objectively a bad movie. I know the first one's better objectively, but I love this. I love this movie so much, Keri. I can't explain. It's two robots fighting. What more? And I love the humor. And again, this had dark humor in it as well. Have you seen this movie?
I think I saw it when I was a kid, but clearly I need to see it now as an adult.
Yes, I love this movie. Part of my love, I will admit, does come from that was filmed in my hometown, Houston, which I love. And it's just a great movie. So great that Jon Favreau, when he made the first Iron Man movie, they based the infight between Iron Man and Ironmonger on the fight between RoboCop and Kane at the end of RoboCop too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's just the humor is it's so hilarious. But the biggest problem with this is they didn't do anything with the character of Murphy. Like, they introduced his wife, comes in and finds out that he's been turned into RoboCop and that Murphy's still alive. But that plot line is never brought up again in the movie. And like, if you know anything about the production of this movie, it was written by Frank Miller, who did a lot of famous comics,
Right,
Batman comics
okay,
and their stuff.
right.
But there's a lot of rewriting. Like, he was rewriting on the set daily. And there's actually a scene in here that's very meta. There's a scene where after RoboCop gets pulled apart and put back together, OCP decides to put in a bunch of codes in him that tell him to help old ladies across the street. Like, there's a scene where they're all in a boardroom and all the executives like, well, maybe you can help get cats out of trees. They're like, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, all these terrible ideas. And it's so meta because that's how the script for this movie came about, when so many people kept rewriting and suggesting things. And it's a beautiful mess, I think. I just love this movie.
I love how much you love it. I am
Yes.
going to watch it now because you're so enthusiastic.
We gotta watch it together. I have it on DVD.
Kevin Anderson.
No, Kevin, you're wrong. RoboCop 3 is a terrible one. I hate RoboCop 3.
He says RoboCop 2 is terrible. I love how when you get really opinionated, you're just like, no, you're wrong.
Yes, I'm right. That's great.
He does agree. He says not as bad as RoboCop 3.
Yeah, I hate a movie. I hate it so much. I need to do a hate list.
And hey, Ann Pinkova, she says, I feel like I need to see these movies now.
Do it.
Okay, let's see what else is on your list. Yes!
Yeah,
It's on my
I knew
list.
it. I knew it was going to be.
This is on
Yes.
my top 10. Pee-wee Herman's Big Adventure. We just went to the Alamo. I will report that there, again, I always check to see, is there a basement? Nope. No basement.
There's no basement in the Alamo. I love this movie so much. It's such a weird movie that shouldn't
Yeah.
work. Everything about it is just strange, but it works so beautifully. The movie is co-written by Phil Hartman, which a lot of people don't
Yes.
know.
He's so funny.
Yes, yeah. Tim Burton, I think it may have been his first big movie. I think he did a smaller movie for this, but first big movie did. Danny Elfman did the music. Great soundtrack. I
Yeah.
listened to that quite a
Amazing
bit.
music.
Yeah, it's such a funny, just weird, absurd kind of comedy, and I just love this movie.
I can watch this over and over. It's
Mhm.
just, yeah, I can't explain it either. It's just, like you said, so many weird, zany elements should not have worked, but it did.
Yeah.
And much better than the TV show. And very different from the TV show.
Mhm.
It large and large. Yeah, Jonah. And Tree Surgeon says one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. Yeah. If you haven't seen this, by the way, I've been trying to get a Pee Wee Herman costume on Amazon, and they are out of
Oh.
size small, but they do make them.
Really?
Yeah, like the whole suit. I guess you
Yeah.
can just buy those things independently, but they put it together for you. And
Oh, do that.
yeah, I've
That'd be
got
hilarious.
a
Yeah.
Pee Wee suit. He's just anyway. He's great. There's something about his character, the Pee Wee character, is like that joyful innocence, and he's kind of a troll in a way. It's sort of like he was like a precursor to Alex Stein.
Oh, wow. Never thought of that.
Okay, what else is on your list?
Let's see what else. Blues
The
Brothers.
Blues Brothers.
I love this comedy. Great movie. One of the few good Saturday Night Live movies. Shame John Belushi passed away shortly after the movie, but this movie is just hilarious. It's one of the movies I quote the most, but a lot of people don't know what I'm quoting. It sucks, but just great movie. It's a lot of great musical numbers, a lot of great musicians. They had a lot of great blues musicians in there, R&B. Aretha Franklin was in there, and Ray Charles, and so many others. It's just a great movie.
I saw this when I was a kid, but I don't know. Didn't make
You don't like it?
Didn't make the same kind of it was okay. It just didn't make the same kind of impression on me.
Well, all right.
Well, well, you're wrong. I was waiting for you to say, well, you're wrong.
That, but yes.
Okay, Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
I love Terminator 2. This is blasphemous, but I think it's better than Terminator 1. I know a lot of people get upset at that, but I love it. It's essentially taking the same story beats, but in my opinion, it executes it much better. I know people say first Terminator was more of a horror movie, and this was more of an action movie. I get that, but I still think it's better, especially technology, because this was right before Jurassic Park, and this had not quite as big of an impact as Jurassic Park, but it had special effects shots in it that we hadn't really seen too much before. I know James Cameron did The Abyss, and he had kind of that metallic effect, but still with the T-1000 effect, like those special effects still hold up. It's so well done technically. Just a great movie. One of my favorite Arnold movies. Do you not like it? You seem very
I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes about your favorites. I mean, I have to watch them now so we can talk about them.
Oh, you haven't seen this either?
No, I mean, again, a lot of these films I saw when they came out, but I was a kid and
Yeah.
I don't really remember them. They didn't make the same impression on me. So I would have to watch it now and see what I thought
Oh,
of it.
you gotta watch this and stop there. Don't watch anything past Terminator 2.
Just wanted to, and then done.
Yes, the other stuff doesn't exist. It's a great movie.
A lot of people in the chat are agreeing with you. They love this film. So, okay, what else is on your list? Night of the Living Dead.
But I have to say, this is not the original. This is a remake. And I know that's weird, but I actually love the remake in 1990. It bombed at the box office, but Tony Todd's in there, who I actually met. I met him at a Star Trek convention, and I got him to sign something. I told him how much I loved him in this movie. He seemed a little embarrassed, but I don't care. I love this movie. Patricia Tallman's in here. She was also in Babylon 5. But this movie was directed by Tom Savini, and it has some of the best zombie makeup, particularly up to that point. I mean, there's been some good, obviously, zombie stuff since then, but I just think this movie is great. Simple plot, and I know it's blasphemous. A lot of people will say because I'm picking this over the original, but
no, I pick. I told you at the beginning. Now I'm blanking. I'm tired. The remake that I picked, the
Dawn
mall
of the Dead. You said Dawn of
Yeah,
the Dead, right?
Dawn of
Yeah.
the Dead, the remake.
Yeah.
I took the remake over the original. What
Mhm.
year was this?
1990. Yep. This was like right at the beginning of the drought of zombie films because, zombie films were big in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And then this bombed in 1990. We didn't see a whole lot of zombie stuff up until I'd say probably the first Resident Evil came out in 2002 and then Dawn of the Dead in 2004. And by that time, the zombie revival was on. And we're still in that zombie revival because they're still making zombie movies and zombie shows, obviously.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think it was a good movie.
I don't know if I've seen this.
I have it on DVD. Shocking. I
Okay.
have most of these movies on DVD.
We should watch it.
Yes.
We'll have a movie night.
It's the first zombie movie I ever saw, too.
Wow. Okay. What about Bob? This is on my list. Too.
Yay! I love this movie. It's one of my most quotable movies. It's just so hilarious. It's interesting to think about how Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray hate each other in real life, which is
I didn't know that.
yeah, they do, which is weird. But the chemistry in this movie is fantastic. It's just a hilarious movie. I have it on DVD.
It is so funny. Again,
Yes.
if you haven't seen this, I will co-sign. This is where we overlap on the Venn diagram. What about Bob is also on my list.
I don't think a lot of people seen this though.
Really?
Yeah.
Baby steps.
My favorite scene is when he's picking up Bob from the insane asylum or the mental hospital.
Yes.
And Bob won't stop talking. And so Richard Dreyfuss slams on the car, walks over, opens the door, and goes, "Get out!" Like I really want to know, was that improv? Like, did it meant for that to come out that way, or was that scripted? This is hilarious though.
Alan Conrad says, "I do not like What About Bob." Well,
What?
you're wrong. You're wrong, Alan.
What? Oh, Alan.
It's okay. We don't have to like the same things. But you're wrong. Okay.
And wrong.
We're kidding. How good. I've got a couple of Bill Murray films on my list.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The Running Man.
I love The Running Man. Yeah, it's just cheesy. Well, this was the only one I could find that was like
I thought you were like, I just love the trailer.
Yeah. Never actually seen the movie, just the trailer. But I love this one. Arnold Schwarzenegger, top form, had some great one-liners back in the 80s when he was at the top of his game. This was based on a Stephen King story, oddly enough, but this was a great 80s movie, and it kind of has a little bit of a commentary about entertainment, consumerism, and how detached people are getting from the stuff they see, because it deals with convicts being put in this battle to the death game show. And I think it's pretty pertinent for what's going on today, as we see people getting less empathetic and just more spectators just watching people treat each other in terrible ways and not doing anything about it. So it's kind of a dystopian. It is a dystopia movie.
Okay.
But
Guilty confession, I've never seen Running Man.
I'm not surprised. I mean, it's not one of Arnold's movies that are ranked that high.
But I really want to see this now.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have a whole
This
night.
will be
to watch.
out of everything you show me so far that I'm like, I want to see this. This is the one I want to see first.
Yeah. So yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I love this movie though.
A lot of people in the chat are agreeing. Love Running Man. Seen it so many times. Okay. The Naked Gun.
Naked Gun. This is probably my favorite spoof movie. Great plot. I love the jokes. Leslie Nielsen was fantastic in this. O.J. Simpson, he was even how weird as that is to say in it. But this is just it's so much acerb comedy. And part of my love of comedy and part of my sense of humor is pretty absurd.
Mhm.
And I love the scene where they're at the, I think it's the Dodgers game, and or the A's game, and they're showing clips of the highlights of the baseball team, and like one of the guys is going back for in the outfield is going back for a ball, and the tiger comes out and just mauls him. It's just like silly, random, like absurd comedy, and it's just I think it's one of the greatest comedies in my opinion.
That's great. Okay, how many more on your list?
I think that's it. Can you check?
Is
I'm
that
pretty
it?
sure that's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's it. That's number 10.
Yep.
Wow.
Again, I don't even agree. There's so many other movies. Like Batman Returns could have been put on here. There's so many. It's just
hard
so
to get
hard.
it down to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I love that.
Yeah, it was fun.
We're going to save, I think, for another night, like where we don't, you guys, this attic installation thing just has been crazy. So this was let's have just a fun, frivolous night where we just hang out and talk about favorite films. We'll save my favorites for another night where we have to do that, where we just hang out. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I want to make a fancy presentation like you did.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Cool. But I love it. You guys, this is what it's like getting to talk to Mr. Chris in person. And I just love that I get to do it with this show and with people seeing what makes you so interesting and wonderful and funny.
See get a glimpse to my random brain. Just random things in my brain. Like, oh, that's funny. That's cool.
Okay. I'm tired. I don't think we're going back into the attic tonight. I think we're going to save it and get up. We're going to get up at 4 a.m. probably.
Yeah.
To finish.
I agree.
And because I'm so tired, even with this Red Bull. But thank you guys for hanging out tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chris. I do have one more announcement I forgot at the beginning of the show. Speaking of comedy, tomorrow, the Thursday Deprogrammed interview at 6:00 Central is going to be with Amanda from Daywalker Comedy. She's hysterical. I can't tell you. I'm not blowing smoke. You know me. She is so funny. So I hope you guys tune in. We watched some clips during the episode. I had so much fun with her. That was the other thing is we took an hour break from the attic today so I could talk to her, and I got to go edit that and put it up tonight. But anyway, that'll be out tomorrow. The premiere's at 6:00 Central. I hope you guys will tune in. And especially if you don't know who I'm talking about, you're going to be entertained. You're going to laugh your butt off. So that's tomorrow. And thank you guys for hanging out. Anything else from you, Mr.
No,
Chris?
that's it. I'm looking forward to next week. Should we tease what we're going to talk about next week, or should we save it?
Yeah, let's do it. We already know the topic.
Yeah. Next week we're doing something I've been wanting to do since we started the show. We're doing the rise and fall of MTV, part 1. We're going to split in 2 because there's so much there, and I'm really excited.
MTV behind the MTV. Behind the music?
I see what you did there.
It doesn't really work. Tune in next week for Behind the MTV. No. But yeah, this should be fun. The rise and fall of MTV. That's Wednesday next week, a week from today. You guys have a great night. We'll see you later. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, Mr. Chris.
Good night, Keri.
I don't have the thing queued up. Hold on. Here's a clip from one of my favorite movies that we'll go out on. Bye-bye.
Well, I'm gonna go then! And I don't need any